Oh, hello. Let me tell you a story about a magical little bookshop in a very special village.
I've always worked with books, so I've been a librarian for a number of years, and when I came back to Auckland I started to work in bookshops. I worked in Wild Swans in Milford, which was fabulous, and I worked at the Women's Bookshop, which was amazing, and I learned an awful lot with Carol. She's incredible. She knows so much. And then I got this one. I've always planned to own one at one stage, and this one came up for sale, and there weren't many that I would have considered buying. This was definitely one of them. Yeah, I was lucky enough to be able to buy it. The village is amazing. I think it's really special, and there's such a good group of owners. They all love their businesses, and it really shows. They're all just so enthusiastic. The owners have to be passionate about what they're doing. We shouldn't underestimate the local population, because they are really supportive, really supportive. I mean, none of us would be here if the local population wasn't as supportive as they are. And that's growing. That's growing a lot. And the people that come in on the weekends are just kind of the icing on the cake, so to speak. But there's so much to do up here. I mean, you can come up for a day, you can come up for a weekend, you can come up for a week, and you'd still be finding things to do. When we buy what we think people would like, and I also buy what I think is interesting. Interesting is really essential. It has to be an interesting book. I'm not sure that you go onto Amazon and cruise like you would in a bookshop. I mean, you don't get this. You don't get the same selection in a small area that you can see all at once, sort of thing. But you can come in, you can cruise around any of our tables, and you can pick up all these different random books, which you would never pick up in the same way on Amazon.
It's a real thrill to match up somebody with the right book. You do get that feedback that people have loved what they bought, or the person really enjoyed reading it. I mean, it's like when you work in a library and you're helping people through the ages, you know, when they're children and then all of a sudden they're a bit older. It's the same with customers in the shop, you know, their families grow up and they've got grandchildren. It's a never-ending pleasure. Sometimes people say, oh, is there another shop like this? And I say, no, it's a boutique independent shop. And because, like Mary Liz said, there's a lot of mass market titles that, I mean, there's many that we do have, but you could fill the shop with those. And isn't it better to have 30 different titles with maybe 1 or 2 copies of those than 2 titles, 50 of each, you know, just a big pyramid of, you know, one author when you walk in the door.
We get a lot of people coming in asking for recommendations, especially for book groups. There are a couple of book groups who ask if they can come in, and we will host the evening for them. And that seems to be a really enjoyable thing. They love doing that.
The children's books are really important because it's sometimes the area where people want the most help. You know, it's a vast selection and it can be quite overwhelming for them. So people often come and they want a book for their grandchildren. Is it a book just for the child for now, or is it one you want them to grow into? Is it for them to share with a sibling? It's such a thrill to match them up with something that might work.
Right from a child, I've always been a big reader, and I suppose books were quite important in our household. We always had, my dad had a big library. He had a study with a big library of books and things in there, so, and we've always been encouraged to read. So, yeah, all my kids are big readers, all of them.
There'll probably be at least 3 or 4 times a day people come in the door of the shop and they stop and say, oh, the smell of the books. Especially when it's new, it's just that thrill. I mean, it reminds me of being a child, that thrill of opening the cover of a new book. I mean, a new book was such a rare treat to have. I went to the library, but to be given a new book that thrill's never gone away, and it's still I think that magic is still with so many people now, that the potential of what's inside it. I mean, we get so used to swiping and looking at things on screens, but to hold something in your hands, it's everything. It's the weight of the book, it's the artwork, it's the cover. I think nothing can take that magic and charm away. And for all that, there's iPads and ebooks and all the rest of it, I think the physical book is still something that people treasure and appreciate more and more.